Michelle Eder, and I will be discussing chapter 5 to 6 of the subject Teaching of English. In this chapter, we will examine the different methodology approaches that will surely help in the teaching-learning process. To better understand these approaches, it is important to discuss what is generally understood as the main teaching styles of educational pedagogy: the communicative language teaching, content-based instruction, task-based language teaching, learning strategy training, cooperative learning, and multiple intelligences. Through these teaching methods, teachers can gain the better understanding of how to govern their classroom, implement instruction, and connect to their students. The undeniable demand for good communication skills in English has created a significant factor for teaching English around the world. Millions of people today want to improve their command of English or to ensure that their children achieve a good command of English. And opportunities to learn English are provided to many different ways, such as media and internet. The worldwide demand of English has created an enormous demand for quality language teaching and material, and also the resources. Learners set themselves demanding goals. They want to be able to master English to a high level of accuracy and fluency. Employers too insist that their employees have good English language skills, and fluency in English is a prerequisite for success and advancement in many fields of employment in today's world. The demand for an appropriate teaching methodology is therefore as strong as ever. The term teaching method refers to the general principles, pedagogy, and management strategies used for classroom instruction. The choice of teaching method varies on educational philosophy, classroom demographic, subject areas, and school mission statement. The choice of teaching method varies on educational philosophy. Also, these teaching theories primarily fall into two categories or approaches: the so-called teacher-centeredness, which describe a constructivist teaching method. Another is teachers or students are viewed as empty vessels whose primary role is to passively receive information via lectures and direct instructions, with an end goal of testing and assessment. It is the primary role of teachers to pass knowledge and information into their students. In this model, teaching and assessment are viewed as two separate entities. Student learning is measured through objectively scored tests and assessments. On the other hand, student-centered approach is a method wherein it is the students who do the activities and discover learning. The teacher's primary role is to coach and facilitate student learning and overall comprehension of material. Student learning is measured through both formal and informal form of assessment, including group projects, students' portfolios, and class participation. Teaching and assessment are connected. Student learning is continuously measured during teacher instruction. The first teaching method that we know is the so-called communicative language teaching, or the CLT. We will explore the assumptions it is based on, its origins and evolution, since it was first proposed in the 1970s, and how it has influenced approaches to language teaching today. Since this inception in the 1970s, CLT has served as a major source of influence on language teaching practice around the world. Many of the issues raised via communicative teaching methodology are still relevant today, though teachers are relatively new to the profession may not be familiar with them. Therefore, it serves to review what we have learned from CLT and what its relevance is today. Let us clarify some certain concepts and principles of communicative language teaching. Significant point to know is about its goal to enable students to effectively communicate in the language used through the use of the variety of learning aids, styles, strategies, and understanding principles underlying it. This method weighs much on the communicative intent, wherein students use the language as a great deal through communicative activities such as games, role plays, and problem-solving tasks. To make use of the language effectively, both teachers and students must have a clear notion on rules and functions. For example, one of the major roles of teacher is to establish a learning situation to promote communication and facilitate learning. Not a teacher-centered classroom, however, showing a student-centered learning environment. On the other hand, students should be actively engaged in trying to make themselves understood, even when their knowledge of the target language is incomplete. According to Richards and Rogers of 2001, content-based instruction, or the so-called CBI, is an approach to second language teaching in which teaching is organized around the content or information that students will acquire, rather than around a linguistic or other type of syllabus. In other words, CBI involves integrating the learning of language with the learning of content simultaneously. Here, content typically means academic subject matter such as math, science, and social studies. The focus of a CBI lesson is on the topic or subject matter. During the lesson, students are focused on learning about something. This could be anything that interests them, from a serious science subject or their favorite pop star, or even a topical news story or film. They learn about the subject using the language they are trying to learn, rather than their native language, as a tool for developing knowledge, and so they develop their linguistic ability in the target language. This is thought to be a more natural way of developing language ability, and one that corresponds more to the way we originally learn our first language. Another approach or method is the so-called task-based approach. This learning offers an alternative for language teachers. In a task-based lesson, the teacher doesn't predetermine what language will be studied. The lesson is based around the completion of the central task, and the language studied is determined by what happens as the students complete the task. The lesson follows certain stages, such as the following. A. Pre-task. The teacher introduces the topic and gives the students clear instruction on what they will have to do at the task stage, and might help the students to recall the language that may be useful for the task. Letter B is task. The students here complete a task in pairs or groups using the language resources as they have as the teacher monitors and offers encouragement. The third one is planning. Here, students prepare a short oral or written report to tell the class what happened during their task. They then practice what they are going to say in their groups. Meanwhile, the teacher is available for the students to ask for advice to clear up any language question as they may have. The fourth one, or letter D, is report. Here, students then report back to the class orally or read the written report. The teacher chooses the order of when students will present their reports and may give the students some quick feedback on the content. Letter E is analysis. The teacher here then highlights relevant parts from the text of the recording for the students to analyze. They may ask students to notice interesting features within this text. Letter F is practice. Finally, the teacher selects language areas to practice based upon the needs of the students and what emerged from the task and report phases. It is a strong communicative approach where students spend a lot of time communicating, enjoyable, and motivating. Students should have some strategies in every field of learning to be able to get much more succeed. Some of the best ways are learning strategy training, cooperative learning, and multiple intelligences. Here in the learning strategy training, it is based on problems students encountered in the process of learning target language. These problems are needed to be solved for an effective learning. Learning strategy training focuses on learner training as much as language teaching. Students should be responsible for their own learning, and the teacher helps them to facilitate their learning and to be more effective in learning the target language. After the students get some learning strategy, they have a cognition about them. Another is the so-called cooperative learning. From the word cooperation, it refers to the common working together with the others. While studying cooperatively, every member of a certain group's task responsibility for the existing task. But it is mostly a problem to keep a group member together and ensures that everyone carries out his or her responsibilities. It assures that the students learn in groups, away from independent or independence, because conscious about their responsibilities to implement tasks independently. Intelligence is often defined as our intellectual potential, something we are both with, something that can be measured, and capacity that is difficult to change. Conceived by psychologist Howard Gardner, multiple intelligences are 7 different ways to demonstrate intellectual ability of the students, such as the following. Letter A is the so-called visual spatial intelligence. This is the ability to perceive the visual, like puzzle building, reading, writing, understanding charts, graphs, and the likes. Another is verbal or linguistic intelligence, which is the ability to use words in language. These learners have highly developed auditory skills and are generally elegant speakers. Letter C is the logical or mathematical intelligence, which refers to the ability to use reason, logic, and numbers. Another is the bodily kinesthetic intelligence, like the ability to control body movements and handle objects skillfully. These learners express themselves through movement. Another is musical rhythmic or intelligence. It is the ability to produce and appreciate music. Another is interpersonal intelligence, which is the ability to relate and understand others. And of course, the last but not the least, the interpersonal intelligence, which is the ability to self-reflect and be aware of one's inner state of being. Thank you. That's all.